Partnerships for the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. And I want to let my colleagues introduce themselves, and then we're going to get started.
Hi, my name is Steve Burness. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Better Business Bureau Chicago and Northern Illinois.
I'm Luke Tan, Executive Director of the Chicago Innovation Awards.
Very good. So, what we'll do, I think I'll let Lou start.
Sure.
So he's going to tell you a little bit about the Innovation Awards, and then we'll have Steve, and then I'll finish up, and then we'll take questions from the audience, and we'll go from there. Sounds good?
Sounds great. So for those of you who are not familiar, the Chicago Innovation Awards is now its 12th year. We focus on celebrating, educating, and connecting innovators across the Chicago region. When we say innovators, we mean absolutely anyone, big companies, small entrepreneurs, for-profit, nonprofit, across all industries, high-tech and no-tech, who are involved in launching a new product, a new service, or a new company. So at the core of this is an awards program, which is actually this October 30th is the awards night itself. We'll have 1,500 people at the Harris Theater, and it's to celebrate this year's winners. So that's the celebrate aspect. The educate aspect is we host lots of events, not too dissimilar from the Entrepreneur Expo that we're at today, where we have lots of different speakers who speak about different topics that are important to people doing innovation. So VCs, people in PR, IP, patent attorneys, things like that. And then the last goal of ours, which is to connect, really is just a synonym for the word network, which I know what this panel is all about. So we're always trying to, via lots of these events, connect people who are interested in potentially meeting each other. So venture capitalists and startups, students and companies who are looking to hire them, big companies and small, because there's lots of cool collaborative work that can happen there as it relates to launching a new business or new service. So we do about an event almost every month, and if you go to chicagoinnovationawards.com, you can see what we're all about.
Again, hi, my name is Steve Burness. Again, I work with the Better Business Bureau. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Better Business Bureau. I've been there 26 years, a long time, from management training to CEO as well. I just want to give you a quick history of the BBB that sets it'll set my talk later a little bit about the networking side. The Better Business Bureau was invented for one reason only in the early 1900s, because of false advertising. All ads in the turn of the century in the newspapers were false and misleading in some way. Coca-Cola was sued in 1906, I think it was, for false advertising. They went into court to defend themselves, and they basically told the judge, who cares, all ads are false anyway. And that's what basically one of the founders of our sales managers of Coca-Cola, started a movement, watchdog organization, and mushroomed into the Better Business Bureau system in 1912. So we're a 101-year-old organization, but here in Chicago we're only 86 years old. And our founding father in Chicago was Mr. Elmer Wiebold from Wiebold's Department Stores. So those old enough in the room to remember that as well. So basically the mission of the Better Business Bureau is a nonprofit organization. We're a 501c6 membership organization. And really it's to level the playing field. We're in the marketplace, let buyers and sellers trust each other to provide a better marketplace. So we give the seal of approval. As you know, you'll see on ads from national retailers like Empire, who use our logo on each ad, to the small mom and pop organizations as well, because on the internet especially, nobody knows who you are if you're outside of your service area. So we allow consumers, obviously, or companies to use our logo to let them know you can trust those organizations as well. So I've been here again for 26 years, from management trainee all the way up through to CEO as well, and I worked on major cases. One of the major cases we worked on with the BBB was Walmart. A lot of the retailers filed complaints against Walmart when they first moved into the area. They were always the lowest prices. There was a tagline, and the other retailers came to us and said, wait a minute, we're lower than Walmart in certain situations. So we had a hearing up in our national office, and they lost. Sam Walton acquiesced and changed all his slogans and his ads, always the low prices. So that's what I'm really trying to say. The BBBs are all about self-regulation, how we can level the playing field for everybody else as well. So we'll go a little bit more into networking, which is an important part of my role as CEO of the networking side. I'll touch base after John tells us a little about the Chamber of Commerce. Thanks.
Okay. So, Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. So we are the regional Chicagoland Chamber. We represent about 2,500 businesses all across the region. Our businesses and members represent everybody from as large as Boeing to as small as a bakery shop in Bronzeville and everything in between. And so the chamber exists for the purpose of trying to help businesses to connect with one another so that you do business. Because at the end of the day, what is the use in networking with someone simply for the purpose of being social? You can do that with your family. That's what family reunions are about, getting together and having a few drinks and enjoying food and enjoying each other's company. But when you're in business, it's about making money. Unless you all aren't interested in making money. You all are not-for-profits, or are you businesses? Y'all sound like y'all not really clear about whether you're a not-for-profit or a business. Are you a business or a not-for-profit? So you're in the business of doing what? Making money. Don't be apologetic about that. Being an entrepreneur is a great thing. You are the creator of jobs. So you network for the purpose of doing three things: making money, saving money, or finding a relationship that is going to help you professionally or personally expand your business or help you in a personal way. Let me give you an example. So we had a networking event where we brought together about 50 businesses. They're sitting there, they're talking, they're exchanging cards, they're doing all these great things. But what came out of it was something really powerful. So there was someone who had a brother-in-law that was having a medical issue with his eye. Introduced him to a lawyer who happened to be in the room. The lawyer sat on the board of the Illinois College of Optometry. And because he sat on the board, he was able to connect him to resources that was able to help his brother-in-law get the recommendations and get the information and resources that he needed in order to fix his eye. Now, did it make him money? No. But guess what it did? It built him a relationship. And because of going to that networking event and making that connection to someone, he was able to benefit personally as a result of it. Now, what do you think is going to happen the next time that person sees him and is thinking about legal services? What do you think is going to do? You help me. So, Stephen, why don't we sit down and why don't we talk a little bit? It's about making the connections. Networking for the sake of networking sucks. It does. There's nothing worse than someone who comes up to you and just, "Hi, how you doing? My name is John Robinson. Here, let me hand you a card. I really do that." And then you forget their name right after that. It's about building the relationship. And that's what we try to create at Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. We try to create the platforms and forums so that you are able to build relationships. Something that's sustainable, something that's scalable. And what Steve and what Lou do in their organizations is all a part of that. It's all about connecting the dots. So today, we're going to have a very real conversation about what real networking is all about. Not this card passing stuff and chicken on the stick and drinking wine. And that's nice and that's wonderful. But it's about how do those relationships, how does that networking with that person, how's it going to help me make money, save money, or create a brand new relationship that's going to help me personally and professionally. That's going to be our goal. All right? We all agree? We agree we're going to make some money? Yes. Y'all don't want to make no money. All right, so that's what we're going to do today. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and we're going to answer questions based upon our individual things, but we're also going to answer questions based upon what we've seen in the marketplace in terms of things that work. So anything that you've thought about in terms of networking, anything you've thought about in terms of business and marketing and sales, you got the experts right here. So at this time, I'm going to open up the floor. I saw your hand all the way in the back, first one. Yes?
My question is, how do you, I guess what I'm having trouble with is narrowing down my networking, because as you mentioned, you know, there's all kind of events and people bombarding you and things you can get involved in, but how do I make sure that the events I'm going to or the things that I'm doing are really worth my time or worthwhile?
Lou, you want to take a shot at it?
Yeah, and I'll stand too. So I think, well, what kind of work do you do?
Healthcare.
Okay, so I'm assuming you've at least narrowed it down to healthcare related events when you're looking to go to events?
Yeah, I try to, but because it's, without giving out too much, it's a healthcare related business, but it has different aspects to it, so to speak. So there are different things that I can be involved with. I can be involved in something that has to do with pharmaceuticals, something that has to do with nutrition, something that has to do with exercise or, you know, the general health care, spas and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, it's just so much going on sometimes, and I just want to make sure that my time is well spent.
Yeah, and I think, well, first, I mean, just narrowing down to what your industry is and knowing that those are the events that you want to go to is, you know, an obvious first step. But also, I think, you know, what you're saying also reminds me that with networking, sometimes it's not just, it's not quantity, but it's quality. And it's not just the quality of the events you're looking for, but it's also the quality of the people that you're looking to talk to. So, as John mentioned, you know, people are just handing out business cards. I saw someone outside of the front door here who was literally just standing there. As people would walk by him, he was giving them a business card. And people, you know, it's like the person who gives just a flyer on a street corner. It's like, okay, thanks for giving me your garbage. Now I'll just find a garbage can for it. But it's really all about finding people who really can relate to you and what you're trying to do. So going in with sort of a plan or knowing who the attendees are for a specific event, and there's you know, some sites will publish that. So for example, with our events, we use Eventbrite. We always publish the attendee list beforehand so people can see who it is or what company. There's other apps. There's one called Shortlist, and I know the founder of that company was in the room just a moment ago. That will help you connect on your smartphone. You can even message them beforehand. So you can really make better use of your time whilst you're there, saying, you know, hey, I do this and I'd like to connect with you while we're at this event together. So it's quality more than quantity, I think, is important thing to remember.
Steve?
I agree with that as well. It's quality over quantity. But one thing you have to realize, every industry has connectors. People who really understand the industry itself, and you can follow them around and ask them, befriend them as well, and actually reach out to them and say, what event should I go to? Because every industry, and I deal with all the industries myself as well, but every industry, I can tell you, I know one person in every industry that I have a question or an answer, or I need an expert opinion, I go to that person. And that person can then steer you into the right direction. They may not get the connection immediately, but they can build that rapport, saying, okay, this is what I need to do, or this is what I need to talk to. Let me think about it and get back to you. So it's really the people. There's always, especially in Chicago and Northern Illinois, there's connectors in every industry, as John can attest to.
Let me tell you one of the downsides of social media. It makes you want to be friends with everybody. And guess what? You ought not be friends with everybody. So when you think about the events that you go to, you ought not go to every single event simply because they send you an invitation. It's about being targeted. It is about identifying people in your industry, and it's about identifying where are your customers? Where do they hang out? That's where you need to be, because they're the ones that are paying for your service or your product, right? If you go to an event where there's absolutely nobody there who either is a part of your industry that can help you get more industry knowledge to make you better at what you do, or is going to be someone who's going to buy your product, why are you there? Okay? So think about it from the standpoint, and what I love about traditional businesses is, and I love the early stage technology companies. You go to 1871 over there at the Merchandise Mart, you got this entire room of young, early stage startup entrepreneurs. They're all sitting around drinking Intelligentsia coffee, playing ping pong, and talking about how cool their business model is, right? But when you got a business, you got customers that you need to take care of, and you got new customers that you need to find. You don't have time to sit around and drink coffee for 3 or 4 hours, right? You don't have time to talk about how cool it is to be in business. You got to be about business. So go to where your customers are, and go to where you can get more industry knowledge that's going to help you do your business much more efficiently and much more profitably. Okay? Yes?
I'm getting into the renewable energy / agricultural business.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly raising chickens and bison and wind and solar. I'm south of I-80. My biggest problem is all the bison are out west or in Indiana, and bringing that market here and finding people in this area. Same thing with wind, solar, and other renewable technology, and using the animals for some of that renewable resource. There's a lot of urban ag here, but it's just little mom and pop farms and small stuff like farmers markets. How do I get in contact with the bigger people, like Ted Turner with his 1 million square miles of bison and something like that to bring to this area, which used to be all animals, and now it's just all humans. And we don't have any bison anywhere close except for Fort Wayne, Indiana, 2.5 hours away. So how do I get in touch with the people that are hundreds of miles away when I'm on limited resources because there's not really much in this area. None of the universities or anything is up this way, but we have all the opportunity.
Boy, you ain't big. You said Ted Turner. You going for the big dog right away, huh? I like that. I like when you think big. But no, make no small plans. It does not stir men's blood.
Because
I like that.
he has a restaurant in Bolingbrook and Arlington Heights and nothing down here. Bison meat is the best meat of any animal out there. Even better than chicken or turkey. If people taste it, at first you're going to get a little queasy in the stomach because it's grass-fed. So you're going to get true meat versus corn meat.
So let me ask you, because I want to make sure that we answer your question. So you're talking about renewable resources and things like that, but you're also talking about eating bison.
Bringing all the renewables to here. Because when an animal eats, it excretes flagellates. It also has excrement. You put that into a container, after a while you have methane. But then you also have fertilizer. So it's a renewable energy source. So it all encompassing from in its mouth, out its butt, onto your dinner plate, or into your light socket.
Dude, you get real basic in here, don't you? I like it. I like it though, because you gotta break it down and make it real simple. So here's what I would tell you. There is an organization called the Clean Energy Trust. So the Clean Energy Trust is dealing with everything in the Chicago region that deals with anything related to renewable energy. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I check their website and actually see kind of, because they've got different sectors and silos that they get involved in. I'm not sure if they necessarily focus on bison excrement, but I get what you're saying. But here's the thing, and it's, it comes back to business 101. You have to, anytime you're going to have a business, it's got to solve a problem. It's got to solve a pain point. And so, if there is no pain around bison excrement, no one's going to buy it. So if you think about a renewable energy type of business and how do you network with the people that are there, the first thing I would do is start networking with the people who work kind of in that sector. It may not necessarily be specifically around what you're talking about, but because the industries are very similar, at least what you're going to have the opportunity to do is to sit down and talk with people who work with the same type of business models. Because when you're talking about renewable energy and sustainable energy as a for-profit business, sometimes it gets tough because there isn't ready market acceptance for certain types of renewable energy sources. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that or experienced something different from that.
Well, so I can tell a parallel story. So you're trying to get to Ted Turner, right? So there's one person you mentioned. So someone like way up there who you don't know. Earlier this year, we were trying to get in touch with Michelle Obama. We wanted her to come to the Chicago Innovation Awards. We thought, our event's in Chicago. She's from Chicago. Innovation supports the economy. Her and her husband are all for that. None of us know her. None of us had any clue how to get in touch with her. The only thing that we knew we could do for sure was go to whitehouse.gov, submit an online form, and that will probably be number 10 million just that day, people trying to reach her. So we're thinking, okay, how do we get in touch with someone who's so far out of our existing network? So the first thing to do is look within your network. And so we just did a little looking around at, first thing we did was look to some of our past winners. So we have 120 past winners. We looked, does any of them have anything to do with Michelle Obama? And we started making some connections. So we know that she's really into healthy eating in the schools. So one of our past winners from 2 years ago was a nonprofit called Fresh Moves. Have any of you heard of Fresh Moves? It's a nonprofit that takes old CTA buses, fills them with fresh fruit and fresh produce, drives them around food deserts in Chicago. So we're thinking, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe we'll ask, his name's Steve Casey, he's the founder of this. It turns out, just by thinking about that, doing a little more digging, that Michelle Obama actually mentioned his nonprofit in an article that she once wrote relating to food and healthy eating. So we reached out to Steve. Steve knew her chef at the White House, so we kind of got lucky that we made that connection. The chef then emailed, so Steve made an email intro for me and the chef. The chef emailed me, introduced me to her scheduler, and through that we were able to make a formal request. And we actually got a response back. The response was no, she was not able to attend. However, at least we, the hardest part for things like that is often just finding how to make that connection. And you're only going to be able to do it if you first look in your network and also just be vocal about it. So just mention to people, I'm trying to get in touch with Ted Turner. Any idea how I could do that? You never know if someone knows someone who knows someone that could make that connection for you.
Yes.
Can I just make a comment on that? It's just, there's a thing that goes that it might not be available, and there's a reason for that. Like say, for instance, you say it's not here, but somebody somewhere has thought about it, and there's a reason why it might not be here. And just on the onset, not really knowing much about it, is this the kind of climate, is this the condition in which a bison could?
They can go up to 20 below zero. To raise a bison, you give it its yearly shot for its vaccines, and it's a lawnmower. It's a huge lawnmower. It's grass-fed. It's the cleanest animal you can have. And when you eat cow, you're eating corn. It's corn-fed. When you're eating chicken, it's corn-fed. Corn is not digestible by the human body. That's why they had the term corn-fed, because you just blow up and you're real big. It also creates diabetes. I work at a hospital. It creates diabetes, high blood pressure, contributes to a stroke sooner or later. So if we start having better alternatives to what we have of trying to get 2,500, 3,000 pound animals just to put on the feedlot, we need to start doing more stuff that we have.
Here's what I would suggest that you do. You see that woman sitting right there that says she's in the healthcare business? Y'all should talk. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, because she's in healthcare. What you're talking about is trying to create a business, and how do you reach out to trying to create a business that has a health benefit. You all should talk. And the networking part, in some ways, is really that simple. It really is just about trying to find and identify people who have common interests and working in those same industries and trying to figure out how, and maybe it doesn't work out, but at least you now have the relationship that may lead to something else. Yes?
So I'm a marketing director at a 58-year-old family-run screen printing company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the president, they've been doing business in Chicago a long time. And like you said, they're focused on running the business. They don't have much time for them. I come in as a young guy with a lot of fresh ideas, and I want to network all over the place. But how do I get them to tap into their existing network they already got to grow the business?
Yeah, that's, especially with family-owned businesses, that's always a hard thing to do, because you got someone there saying, "Look, Sonny, we've been doing this for 58 years and it works. Okay, we don't need anything new. We just need to keep chopping the wood, and we'll get there." But I think part of it is again, the networking is about, how do I build the business? How do I begin to expand so that we become more profitable? And I think that what you got to be able to show are some results. What are the results of going out and networking in that industry? What are you doing in terms of networking that actually brings in new business? Because nothing says success like getting a new customer, and a customer that pays, and pays on time. Okay?
So yeah, I want to use Eric as a fantastic example of someone who really does networking well. So 2 months ago or so, right, a while ago, Eric emailed me, and we had never met before. And it was a pretty short email, and it was basically, would you guys be interested in possibly having free t-shirts at the Chicago Innovation Awards? And so, of course, we're like, sure. So we get in a conversation, we have a phone call, and it turns out that what Eric's looking to do is meet new potential customers. And what he so smartly did was, right off the bat, it wasn't, hey, we make t-shirts, they cost this much and they're really great. Because I'm like, nah, we're not looking to spend money. But because he was right off the bat trying to help me, provide me with value, that was such a great, warm first step. So because of that, we are getting 25 free t-shirts for the Chicago Innovation Awards. We're also buying another 125 that we're going to sell. And we're probably going to want to do that again next year. So that's a very smart thing to do when you're looking for a new customer or whoever, is try to, right off the bat, help provide new value somehow, as opposed to trying to look for something more self-serving.
One thing I just want to add too, I worked in the nonprofit world my whole life, 26 years as well. My predecessor was an old school guy, 40-year-old employee of the organization, didn't believe in networking, used a dictaphone, used dictation. You had to prove results, as John mentioned. You have to prove that networking is so important. 60% of my success rate as CEO is because I go to networking events. 60%, he never went anywhere. You've got to make the time for it. You've got to show the reasons behind it and show the value of networking is truly beneficial. 60% of my time I'm out of the office. I was at breakfast, lunch, and dinner yesterday. Only about an hour in the office. But it was so important for that time I was away. But the results come. They might not come right away. I mean, you're not going to get a customer immediately, but you'll eventually build up that. When they need something, needs shirts, as he mentioned, they'll go to you. It's the same thing. You just got to keep plugging away at it, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It took me a while to break that, but once I did break that cycle, it was gung-ho from there.
Yes, sir.
My name is Larkin Johnson, and I have a boutique, right? I've been in business for some time, but I haven't heard anyone say anything about, since I've been here, about grants from the city, grants from the government. I like to expand. I mean, really expand like the factory. Now, I like to network and try to find out how to get in there, but without somebody trying to swindle me, you know, like $1,900, $2,500, and I'll get you a possible grant and all like that. I like to know that.
Okay. So I can give you a kind of quick 30,000 foot view. So the best place to go is SBA. The state, the city, grants, and grants where you don't have to pay money back in order to start the business, done. Those programs, long gone. They used to have a program called Innovate Illinois about 3 or 4 years ago where they would actually give money to people to start businesses or to help them grow their businesses. But, you know, government has hit hard times as well. The economy has affected them as much as anybody else, so a lot of that stuff has gone away. The best place to go if you're looking for financing really is the SBA, because it's probably one of the few places that's still in the business of lending money. I would also check out microfinancing, Axiom, and some others that are out there where the credit requirements are still there, but they're not as stringent as if you walked into Bank of America cold and said, you know what, I need $25,000 for a loan. So those are Axiom and SBA are the two places I would start first. And it doesn't cost you anything.
The reason I mention this is, with a guarantee of a permanent job, I think you should get a grant. Guaranteed.
Mr. Larkin, I agree with you, but here's the problem. They can't even keep their own self open at this point. The government can't even stay in business itself, let alone keep us in business, right? So that's why we got to do it ourselves.
If I had a marketable idea that makes money, because, you know, if that make money and guarantee, you mean to tell me they can't find something? I mean, this is what they're looking for, jobs.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, just like a person inventing something that is useful, inventing a job that's useful and make money, somebody better find some money.
I hear you. I hear you. Yes.
At Better Business Bureau, what's the requirement for accreditation and listing? So I understand there's two different categories.
We do list, I'll be brief on this, and everybody's interested in this, but we do register companies with us. You can be on our listing of a company. We do review companies without charging. And then we have the accreditation where you actually, by accreditation to BB, we do a little bit more vetting of your organization and give you the seal of approval for your online website as well. The gentleman right in front of you is with the BBB, so afterwards, anyone has to talk to, you can talk to him about it. I don't want to bore everybody with those details, but we do rate everybody, whether or not you're part of our organization. Now we have 4 million businesses, we rate from A+ to F.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your next contract? Let's say you went to the event and it worked out, you need contact. How do you take it to the next level if you don't necessarily have t-shirts to offer? And you have skills, you have things to offer, but you don't have like a huge buy-in, there's gifts to give them. Like if you're the low person on some level of DTC, but they're not quite Ted Turner, but you know, met them in their environment. How do you network to a collaboration, to a relationship?
Well, you know, I will tell you that what works for a lot of our members at the chamber, that you meet someone here, you get their card. So immediately you're gonna hit them back, maybe with an email, maybe you send them a message on LinkedIn. But it really, the relationship begins not with talking about you, but we're talking about them. It's about asking the question, what's important to you? What keeps you up at night? What are your pain points? I know when I was an entrepreneur, I have to confess, I was a Cold Stone Creamery franchisee. Anybody ever had Cold Stone Creamery? Yes. All the ladies, yes, Cold Stone Creamery. Great product. Business model sucked for franchisees. And I will tell you, there were times I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how I was going to meet a $10,000 payroll, and I knew that all I had in the bank was $4,000. And checks got to go out at 12 o'clock that next day. So I need to figure out real quick how I'm going to come up with this $6,000. So it's about solving. Now I had a pain point, right? I got to figure out how I'm going to meet this payroll. But I had cards and I had met people who provided me access to angel investors who, because they knew me and because they knew the business and they understood it, I was able to get the money in order to make sure that I met payroll. Now it was a couple of days late, but I met it. And so it's about trying to figure out, how do I help to solve a problem that you have? And that's how you begin the conversation. What keeps you up? What are you looking for? What's your core business? We just recently had a networking event with Motorola where we brought some businesses in. We had law firms, we had accounting firms and all those things. And the one thing that I told them is that if you're a law firm, don't come in and talk to Motorola about, I'm a law firm, I know you spend, at least $10 million on legal stuff. You got 15 firms, make me the 16th one and cut me a slice. We went about it a different way. We first tried to help them to understand, what does Motorola Solutions actually do? First responders, public safety products make up 80% of their business. So now if you're a law firm, you got to think about, how is what I do, what services, what are my core concentrations that will help them make more money in public safety and first responder work and products and services. So it really is about having that conversation with them and trying to help you to understand how you might be able to solve the problem for them. I find that to be the best way to be able to start the conversation.
And I think another thing to piggyback off that, so if you, as John mentioned, it's all about trying to help the other person, learn about the other person, understand their pain points, their unmet needs. You might not have money to give them, you might not have t-shirts to give them, but something that everyone has, no matter who you are, is relationships with other people and the ability to make introductions for them. So that's something to always think about, because that, as John, in his story, the introduction was to angel investors. So who he was talking to initially, they made that connection for him. And so, hearing, understanding what other people's needs are, even if you can't solve it yourself, if you know someone who can, they're going to remember you as the person who made that happen. So that's a great way to sort of build up, mutual liking and trust and relationships.
One thing I just want to add to it, always feel the ability to ask somebody for help. Human nature, people always want to help somebody, but they don't want to give you money. They don't want to reach your wallet and give you $5 or $100 to get you going. Just strictly ask for help. Can you help me out? I have this problem. I want to meet this person, like you said. Or I just need some help. Can you steer me in the right direction? People really do want to help you. As a nonprofit, I'm always asking people for help, continuously. And people love to help. It's human nature. They just don't want to give you money. They just don't have the assets that they did years ago. Times are tough.
And when you do those favors, don't keep records. Quit counting. Quit counting how many times you did a favor for this person versus this person versus this person. That's not what it's about. Build up the inventory, and when it comes full circle, you'll have the response that you need in order to be able to help you to do the things that you want to do. But if you're a person who says, I did something for you, I need you to do something for me, you get transactional like that, people will get transactional with you. And what that means is, I'm not going to do something for you unless I can get something out of it. So don't be transactional. Build the relationship. The transaction will happen if you do that. Anybody else have any questions? So gentlemen, if you could leave them with one last bit of advice about networking, about business or anything, what would that be?
I would say something important that I don't think we talked about is, it's all about finding common ground with someone, whether you're in a room of 1,000 people talking to one person or you're just with one person at a coffee meeting. And a question that I never like to lead with, or I don't like people to lead with, to me is the question, so what do you do? because then I'm talking about, I know as John mentioned, you know, we're all into doing business, and that's important to still be a part of it, but I would rather someone ask me, so where are you from? Where did you grow up? Where in the city do you live? Because, and I like to ask that question to people too, because then they're able to give me an answer like, oh, you know, I live in Bucktown. And I say, oh, I lived there 2 years ago. Boy, my favorite pizza place is, you know, right, it's Santullo's, it's right on North Avenue. And oh yeah, I love that place too. And you just sort of create some kind of connection that's warmer as opposed to, so what do you do? And they say, oh, I'm in construction. And then I'm immediately thinking like, well, that doesn't fit with what I'm doing, and then the conversation kind of goes stale. So, you know, trying to develop warm connections, asking questions about where people are from, do you have kids, you know, things like that, I think get people to open up, and once you're open, you're a lot more willing to want to help each other, and that leads to lots of the good things that you're ultimately trying to accomplish by networking.
One thing I want to leave you on, and I mentioned before, I think it's so important, make the time to network. Nobody has time to network. We're running businesses, or if you're the only person with your business, you don't have time, you need to make the time. I found out the hard way, you have to do it. 60% of my success as CEO has been my network building events that I've gone to, and nobody has time. It's a rainstorm, I know I went to one, it was a rainstorm, I wanted to turn around, I went, and it was very fruitful for going to that one as well. You have to make the time, it's like firing somebody. You don't have the time to fire this person, but eventually you do. You just got to make the time, you got to balance your time, and the warm relationships are pivotal in keeping in touch with them. Never sell them, sell yourself to them as you talk to them as well. But people love to have that networking, that relationship building, and Facebook and the social media, I believe in those as well. I don't handle most of my Facebook stuff, but my team does. Just even the happy birthdays to somebody, and oh, congratulations that they put something on there. Then a week later you meet the person, oh, thank you for saying that. It's building that relationship, and as John said, it'll come down the road. Don't go in there with the intent of selling that person, especially the business card in your face. You don't do that. You just introduce. You don't even talk about what you do. Let them talk. Find out their needs and their wishes and wants, and take your time to make the time to network and find, it's quality, not quantity.
So, 2 pieces of business advice I would leave you with is this. 1, be willing to fire your mother. Really, be willing to fire your mother. If you're willing to fire your mother, then you're going to be willing to fire whoever you need to in order to improve your business. Because firing people that are close to you is really hard. Steve and I were talking about that earlier. We sometimes keep people in our business that keeps us from growing because we have these personal relationships. Be willing to fire your mother. So that's the first thing. The second thing I will tell you is that we are in business to be profitable and to create jobs, to create a quality of life for ourselves, and hopefully to improve our communities. And that's a good and laudable thing, to want to be a part of helping to, as a part of being a successful business, being able to sponsor the Little League baseball team, or being able to sponsor the Boy Scouts, or being able to give to your church or your synagogue, or being able to give to breast cancer and all those things. Or maybe you're upset about what's going on in government and you say, I want to throw the bums out, so I know someone who will make a great congressman and I want to give money so that they get to Congress. Here's the thing. You cannot be political and you can't be philanthropic if you're not profitable. You can't do anything unless you have profit and resources to do that. And so your networking is all a part of that. Everything that Stephen and Lou have talked about today is all about building the relationships that ultimately lead to profitability, that ultimately leads to you being able to do the things that you are really, really passionate about. And so when you make that first introduction, I love people from Chicago because the thing that we ask are basically 2 questions. What high school did you go to, or what parish did you grow up in? You know, every time you come across somebody, what high school did you go to? Lindblom. Oh, I knew a guy from Lindblom. Or you ask someone, you know, what parish they go to, St. Cajetan. Oh, I live in St. Barnabas. And you guys are a bunch of nuts. But it's because we have these connections, and once you find out that someone went to Mother Macaulay, or someone went to Corliss, or you now know a little bit more about them as a result of where they went to school. If you know what parish they grew up in, or they grew up in Bucktown, you now have those common things that begin that process of making something personal that goes beyond just the business. The business will come. Don't make it transactional. Build a relationship, and all the other things will happen. Anybody have anything else? With that, Schwing.
Everybody, welcome to the
city of Chicago is trying